Hi there, you wonderful people. I hope everyone's safe and all your families are managing to stay safe under these challenging times. We're doing our best to keep COVID free. So far so good. So today what we're doing is we're making a sweet potato, chickpea and spinach curry. It's not a particularly hot curry, it's relatively mild. It's quite a rounded flavour as well with this one. It's a bit time consuming but not massively. So let's crack on and do this. So the first thing we're looking to do is get ourselves 2 medium sweet potatoes, which is around about the 500 grams mark for 2 medium potatoes. And once we have around 500 grams of potato, we're looking to then peel them and then dice them into 1 to 2 centimetre chunks approximately. We're not looking for exactness here, but nice small chunks that we're then going to stick in the water and boil for about 7 minutes. When it comes to the garlic, I'm giving you the option of either using the frozen blocks that I'm showing here of minced garlic. One block is around 4 cubes, or if you've got access to it and your supermarket has it, you can certainly have 4 cloves of garlic. I'm giving you both options because in these times of COVID, we never know what's sitting on the supermarket shelves. Which is the exact same reason that I'm showing you the frozen crushed ginger here. Half a block is around a 2 centimetre of fresh ginger. So again, you can use either here, you can use the frozen crushed ginger, or if the supermarkets still have them in stock, you can use fresh, 2 centimetres. Which leads me on to the spinach. Again, because of COVID, you don't know what's on the supermarket shelves, so frozen spinach works well. Fresh spinach is a little bit nicer, so it depends on what you can lay your hands on, but both do work very well for the recipe. And again, we're looking somewhere around 220-240 grams of spinach. When it comes to chilies, again, you can get the frozen crushed stuff. This here is a fresh one that I bought in the packets of 3 or 4 that you get from the supermarket. Because I only ever need 1 chilli at a time, the rest went straight in the freezer. So this one's been brought straight out the freezer. Nothing was needed to be done with it. It just could go straight in the freezer if it's a fresh one you buy. So it's brought out and then we're going to de-seed it. The nice thing about freezing your chilies this way is you're less likely to get nippy eyes, etc. They're just that little bit easier to de-seed because the juices aren't coming out when you take your spoon in to scrape out the seeds. So it is an option for you, but it's whatever way you want to go with this as well. And once we have de-seeded it, we're just looking to dice it. So cut along it lengthways a few times just so you get nice thin julienne type strips, and then we're just going to chop down and get nice small chunks. You want these nice and fine, so as fine as you can cut them, that just disperses the chilli throughout when you're coming to cook. And by this point, your 7 minutes should be up, so you can now take your sweet potatoes off the boil or off the ring and then drain them. And just leave them set aside for the minute. And whilst the potatoes are cooling, we can now organise our spices we need. So first up is 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, and then 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, which can just be put in the exact same ramekin as the turmeric. And again, to the same ramekin, we can add 1 teaspoon of salt. This just makes it easy when we're adding all our spices by putting them on one same ramekin if they're going in at the same time. And next up, we're going to add to the ramekin is half a teaspoon of black pepper. And the last spice / seasoning that we're going to add to our ramekin is 2 teaspoons of mild curry powder. And then we can just set that aside, and it's much easier to add it all in as one go. And now to a separate ramekin, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of dried coriander leaf, and then set that aside for a garnish for later. So now we're preparing 200 ml of vegetable stock. 1 oxo cube, and it's oxo cubes that I'm using here, makes 190 ml of vegetable stock. So to get that enough cubes for making 200 ml, it means I need to use 2 cubes. It means it's a stronger stock because we're not making the just under 400, the 380, but that's exactly the way I operate. If it doesn't make it, you go into the next cube. So next up, we're going to drain our chickpeas. Now you can hold on to the aquafaba which you drain off of these, particularly this brand aquafaba off them is really good, I find. But I've got a lot of aquafaba frozen in the freezer, so this stuff just is drained down the sink on this occasion, but oftentimes I hold on to the aquafaba that I'm draining off. And it's not a hard prep part, this next part. We're just looking to take the lids off of our canned tomatoes, make sure they're chopped, that way you don't need to go and chop them. I find chopped tomatoes are just as good, if not better, a lot of the time than fresh tomatoes, depending on what time of the year you're actually shopping for your tomatoes. So canned tomatoes work very, very well for me. And the very final thing we're now looking to prepare before we're ready to start cooking in earnest is our onions. We're looking for 2 medium-sized red onions. And all we're going to do, same with every other onion, is chop off the top, half it, take your outer papery skin layer off and any other outer layer that might not be as nice, and then we're ready to chop and dice. So again, just like every other onion when it comes to dicing it, we're going to hold it to its side and then we're going to chop lengthways towards the root, but we're going to try and not cut all the way through, so we'll get a little small amount of attachment just at the end of the onion holding it all together. Once we've done that, we just turn 90 degrees and start cutting down. The closer you do these cuts in both directions, the finer the chunks of onion you're going to get, and all we're going to do is repeat for all 4 pieces. You can chop any little bits off and then toss out the remaining root stem. It is then just a simple matter of taking your knife and scraping your onion into a bowl and setting it aside. I like using these silicone toppers just to set over the onion. It stops your eyes stinging. You can use things like kitchen towels, or you can use paper towel, but I like these because they just keep everything fresh, they keep it sealed, and you can set stuff aside for a period of time as well if you need to. So we are now ready to start cooking properly. Before we start the curry though, put your rice on. I'm not going to cover how to cook rice in this video. I will do a how to cook perfect boiled rice video because I've seen questions out with the channel on Twitter and things like that, where occasionally I've seen people saying, how do you cook rice? It's dead easy when you know how. It's just you need to know how. So I'll cover that in a separate one. But get your rice on first because it's going to take a lot longer than it is going to take to cook your curry. So once your oil's heated, we're just going to test and make sure it's at temperature. You just drop a single bit of onion in, and if it sizzles, it's at temperature. If it's not sizzling, then it's time to just leave it a bit longer. Once it's sizzling though, let's get our onion in, and then we're going to cook that at a medium heat for around 5 minutes. Whilst your onions are cooking down, it's time to add the water to the stock cubes that you've prepped previously. So as said already, 200 ml of boiled water to make 200 ml of stock. Once the 5 minutes has passed, we're going to add our garlic and ginger, and if you're using it, you're also going to add your chilli, and we're going to cook that for 3 minutes. And don't forget to give it a good stir once you've got everything out your ramekin and into your sauteuse pan or wok, whichever you're using. And now that our 3 minutes have passed, we're going to add our spice and seasoning mix. So that's our curry powder, cumin, turmeric, salt and pepper. And we're going to give that a really good mix in, and you're going to really smell the fragrance coming off of your spices. We're just going to cook that for about a minute until you get a really nice strong spice flavour, spice scent coming off. You don't want to cook your dry spices like that for too long so you don't burn them, so a minute is all you're really looking for. And as soon as that minute's up, we're going to add our vegetable stock, followed by the chickpeas, which were pre-drained, and our chopped tomatoes. Once we have those added, we're going to look to give it a really good stir, then we're going to bring it to the boil, and then at a reasonably high heat, medium high, that sort of area, we're going to reduce it down for those 5 minutes. So I don't actually have any footage of me doing this, but when it comes to your spinach, it's always worthwhile chopping it up. It just leads to nicer mouth-sized chunks when you're cooking it through and mixing it into your curry. We're going to now cook this for about 5 minutes just to get the spinach really nice, thoroughly cooked and wilted and melted into your curry. And that's it, we're ready to serve with nice plain boiled rice. As I said before, I'm not showing you how to make rice in this video. This is a video about the particular curry, but I'll cover rice in a separate video because, as I say, rice is dead easy. There's very little to it when you know what you're doing, but I've seen comments on things like Twitter, etc. with people who do struggle with rice. For those that don't struggle with it, you don't need to see it in this video. For those who do, I will give you a separate video. last but not least, grab that garnish of dried coriander leaf that we prepared earlier and just sprinkle it across the top of your curries. 2 tablespoons is more than enough. You can use a little bit less if you don't like such a strong taste. So there we go. One quick, easy, tasty and yummy, if you just give me a second, curry. Lovely. So if you do it, let me know. Stick the comments down below, and thanks for watching. Take care folks, all the best.